Hello and welcome to Fine Print, the double scrutiny of the story and its coverage with me, Amir Arfa. But first, as always, we start with a quick check of the big print. Big print goes.
Worries over economy spread, global market sink. New reports paint grim picture of U.S. economy. U.S. economy. Sentiment drops by record, starts fall. Bush struggles to be heard in economic crisis. Bush assures U.S. economy will rebound. Europe searching for new financial system. Europe wins backing for global finance revamp. U.S. economy, years of hardship ahead.
To help us track the fine print, we're joined from London by Marco Pietropoli, economist, RM Wealth Management. From Irvine, California, we're joined by Professor Paul Schellnfeld, economic analyst, professor of accounting at the California State University, Fullerton. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. But straight to our first pick tonight from AP. Europe lobbies Bush for global market reforms. And it goes, European leaders are lobbying President Bush to Camp David presidential retreat on Saturday to support a summit by year's end that would craft ways to reform the world financial system. French President Nicolas Sarkozy and European Commission President Jose Manuel Barroso are trying to convince Bush that now is a good opportunity to tighten and better coordinate control of the financial markets in response to the economic crisis that has shaken markets around the globe. Marco, in London, what exactly are the EU leaders asking U.S. President George W. Bush?
Well, I feel that in many ways it's a little bit too little too late. The deed has been done in many ways. The crisis we are in will deepen, and yes, trying to find some solutions for how things are managed moving forward is a wonderful idea, but there has been complete lack of oversight over the last 10 years that has led us into this situation.
Professor Foote, you happen to be an accountant by profession. The question is, all these zeros, $3 trillion just a few days back endorsed by the EU, $700 billion the U.S., and we're hearing all trillions of dollars thrown around. Where do they come from? Do some number crunching.
I could hardly hear the question. I think you were talking about where will the $1 trillion come from?
Where do they come from? Where do they go? As an accountant, it's really hard for the average Joe to figure out what's going on. All these hundreds of thousands of zeros, trillions of dollars thrown around.
Well, it is hard for the average person to understand what this meltdown is all about. It's partly because of lack of confidence. It's lack of faith in what used to be a great accounting system. We used to have great auditors. We have functional problems in that the people who are dishonest at the heads of corporations choose which auditors they want, and we have just some dishonest auditors too. And if there's lack of confidence around the world in markets, that's reflected in the loss of value for everyone around the world.
Well, one of the questions, Professor Foote, on the lips of many is $3 trillion. The Europeans first. Some of them, we had this word schadenfreude once again heard when Germans said, well, look at the Americans. They have to bail out the entire system, $700 billion. But just in days, we had Europe not only matching that of the U.S., but coming out with a $3 trillion rescue plan. Now, the question is that enough?
We need a lot more reform than that. The difference between the European approach and the American approach was the original American approach was we would buy toxic assets, and then they realized that would be an administrative nightmare. So then they went back to buying preferred stock with warrant sweeteners in banks, but that doesn't vote out or take civil or criminal penalty actions against the current managements.
All right, now let's take a look at Reuters' article. Europe wins backing for global finance revamp. Europe won backing from the United States, Russia, and Japan on Wednesday for a summit on urgent reforms to the world financial order to help prevent a repeat of the worst credit crisis since the Great Depression. France, Germany, and Britain called for leaders of a group of 8 industrial countries to gather next month with the heads of emerging economies to look at a radical overhaul of the world's 60-year-old financial architecture. Marco Pietropaolo, we're talking Bretton Woods 2 right now. What are we talking about?
Well, what we're talking about is that if you're the average person, you go to the bank, there are set rules about how you borrow money. If you're a small business or a company, there's collateral that you have to provide, and you're assessed on your income. But what seems to have happened over the last 10 years is that if you're a bank, the rules simply do not apply to you. There is no one checking on you at how much you can gear yourself up. And in some cases, some of these financials have taken out loans literally 30 to 40 times their underlying assets. And in fact, if you go into the case of Fannie and Freddie, they're geared up 150 to 160 times their underlying assets. So rules have to be put in place because they, in many ways, safeguard the nation's deposits, the nation's money, and the global money, and therefore there has to be rules protecting the consumer, protecting businesses, and protecting the financial system, so that companies aren't simply allowed to go out and borrow as much as they can.
All right, let's see what